So Tom Cruise, Reese Witherspoon, Kirsten Dunst, Megan Fox, Tom Hanks, that are all people that at one point would live in this apartment complex. I'm not sure if I want to live there again. It's a ugly city with great weather.
Hello and welcome to 20 Minutes Abroad, the podcast where we talk about different cultures from different countries. Today we are going to talk about his life in Los Angeles, and we're going to get right into that just after the intro. Hello Leo, you've lived in Los Angeles for 11 years, so what inspired you to decide to move there?
To be completely honest, I got very lucky.
And why would you say you were lucky?
Right person at the right time at the right place. I've always been interested in films. You know, I'm a cineast. I love movies. I wanted to work in the movies. And then an opportunity presented itself while I was visiting Los Angeles. And then I just stayed. So it's sheer luck I was able to do that.
Okay, interesting. So you went there just for a vacation or to work there already?
No, I really just went there during the summer when I was 24 years old to visit the studios, to do the touristy stuff. And I ended up getting work and, what's most important, a visa. Because if you're interested in working in the United States, it's not that easy. United States, many people here in Europe, you feel like you're familiar with the United States. You watch their movies, you watch their TV shows, you celebrate their holidays like Halloween, you watch their sports like the Super Bowl. But one thing you always need to keep in mind, it is a different continent, it is a different culture. And one big aspect of this is you are always a foreigner there. If you want to work, they're very strict about their visa requirements.
So I think we have it really good here in Europe, so you can go to different countries, work there, live there, and nobody really cares.
That is certainly one big advantage of living in Europe. On the other hand, keep in mind, the United States are about the same size as Europe. You have an entire continent. Yeah,
so there is a big difference there. And what were your first days in LA, like when you started living there? What were the first days like for you?
Strange and interesting. I think one of the first big differences that you notice is how friendly everybody is. You know, the clerk in the supermarket, when he's packing up your groceries, he's like, "Oh, how are you doing? How was your day?" And for an Austrian specifically, that might seem strange. So it does take some time to get used to it. Also, it's just their way of being polite. They talk to each other in a very friendly way. It doesn't mean that it's earnest. The clerk asking you, how are you doing? He's not expecting you to start telling him about how terrible your days or anything like this.
Of course.
If you want to be polite, you say, "Oh, I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?" And that's it. It's just a way of being friendly. I enjoyed it quite a bit. On the other side, many Europeans told me they have a hard time really understanding when a conversation is getting on a deeper level, when somebody's really interested into you. So that is one of the first things that you might notice when you're there. There's this different mood. I personally enjoyed it quite a bit.
It's quite a difference to life here, where people kind of avoid unnecessary conversations.
You know, in the global rankings, Austrians usually end up being always the grumpiest ones, which is a very funny thing because we of ourselves consider ourselves to be, full of Austrian charm and so on. The rest of the world doesn't see us like this.
That's actually kind of funny. So how would you describe the typical American way of living?
America is a big country. And I'm not sure if there is something like the typical American way. You do have differences on the West Coast, on the East Coast. You do have differences north and south. So for a European going there, East Coast, West Coast is most likely what you will visit. New York and so on, and on the other side, LA and San Francisco. If you're mean-spirited, you might call what's in between the flyover states, because most people will only fly over. Personally, I like them quite a bit. I think America is a gorgeous, beautiful, or the United States are a gorgeous, beautiful country. And if you want to see the heartland, the real America, that's where you need to go.
Yeah. So I can imagine like the places like New York or Los Angeles, they're pretty touristy.
Comparing Los Angeles and New York, it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Of course.
Los Angeles is not a pretty city. Los Angeles is gigantic. It's full of concrete, full of cars. But let me give you some advice when you go to Los Angeles. First of all, don't expect a beautiful city. Don't expect a city center. You know, the days of palm trees and Art Deco buildings, that's long gone. That's the 40s and 30s. These days, you've got a gigantic, never-ending city. It's not even a real city because of historic reasons. It's like 20 different communities all grown together. So my first advice when visiting Los Angeles, rent a car. There's no public transport. It's gigantic. You need a car. Driving is not. Don't be terrified by the gigantic freeways. It's if you made your driver's license in Europe and Austria, you're a better driver. So driving there pretty easy. Everything's big. Don't be scared by the big traffic. My second piece of advice: there is no real center of Los Angeles, and it's not glamorous. You know, you have this impression of Hollywood and stars and so on, and then I think the average tourist visits the Hollywood Boulevard for 45 minutes until they realize it's actually a little bit disgusting and a tourist trap, and then they leave. So keep that in mind. So I'm not sure if you can spend 2 weeks just visiting LA.
Yeah.
Do a road trip, visit Nevada, go to Las Vegas and Grand Canyon. It's way more pretty than that. Don't stay in downtown. The name is misleading. It's but by now it's getting gentrified. But downtown LA, it's basically just an office district. And don't stay near the airport. It might sound fun and convenient, but the airport is so far away from everything else. That would be my 3 advices. Get a car, don't stay in downtown, and don't stay near the airport.
Thank you. Maybe I'll need them someday. Who knows? Speaking of living in LA, how did you manage to find your apartment?
Once again, I got very, very lucky because my then future, now ex-wife, was already living there. It was a gorgeous apartment in a gated community. Technically, it was Beechwood Canyon, zip code 90068, Beechwood Canyon. That's a pretty good address. Technically, it was at the border of Burbank and Toluca Lake, Barron Boulevard and Forest Lawn, and it was a wonderful place to live. It's a big gated community, apartment complex. We had 2 clubhouses, 2 pools, 2 gyms, 2 barbecue areas. But what was most fascinating about it, it was very, very intertwined with the entertainment industry. So Tom Cruise, Reese Witherspoon, Kirsten Dunst, Megan Fox, Tom Hanks, that are all people that at one point would live in this apartment complex.
Oh, really?
Because the big studios, they were all very close by. If they needed some housing for the talent, you know, when they were shooting a movie, somebody was coming to stay for a couple of days, that's where they would put them. And one of the most peculiar things was the studio school. So Los Angeles, or the film industry in Los Angeles, does have pretty strict rules regarding filming with minors, how long children can work on set and so on. And one of those rules is that kids also still need to get a proper education. And for big productions, you would usually hire a studio teacher that would, teach the child in between takes. That's expensive. And the apartment complex during pilot season, a lot of parents would come with their children trying to, hope that they would make it. Yeah. And the apartment complex provided what's called a studio school. And it was fun to watch. It was one of the clubhouses. Essentially, it was one classroom where they had all the students aged from 6 to 18 or whatever, all together in one class. But it did fulfill the requirements for education.
I mean, it's still good that they look after the education, but I think it could be a bit tricky to teach people with in such a wide age span.
I could be completely honest. I'm not sure about the quality of education those people got. Being Austrian from Styria, I always had to think of Peter Voseka's Weitheimat, because that's pretty much how the school looked like. But it was fun to watch, and especially, I was standing on my balcony watching the children, and 3-4 weeks later, one of them I would see in whatever TV show. I would see them on Reels or so.
So some of them made it.
Yes, quite a few, to be honest.
Nice. So I guess you could say you didn't specifically want to live in a gated community since you kind of got lucky to.
I got lucky and it happened. To be very honest, I would choose to live in a gated community there. So Los Angeles is gigantic. Now the city of LA itself is about 4 million people. The greater metropolitan area, I've 17 to 18 million, somewhere in that range. Wow. And the San Fernando Valley in general is a very good area. Not a lot of crime, not a lot of gang activity. There are other parts of town that aren't that nice. Ever seen the movie Training Day? These parts do exist. So out of security reasons, it's a big city, weird things happening there. Yeah. I would always choose a gated community if I ever go back.
And did you have any weird encounter inside of the gated community, maybe?
Plenty. But my favorite weird encounter in the community, so the apartment complex is, it's behind the Hollywood sign. It's bordering Griffith Park, so we had a lot of wildlife. We had deers come in, we had raccoons, rattlesnakes, and we had the mountain lion come in.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, he also passed away by now, but P22, the famous mountain lion living in Griffith Park, would also take a stroll through our apartment complex more than once. So.
Nice.
That's quite something, if you're living with the
scary though.
Yes. Not gonna lie, yes.
It's like, just imagine you have to leave for work and then you can't leave your house because there's a lion just walking around.
Well, that is one of the dangers of living in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that is quite a unique story. So to wrap up the topic area 1, we're going to play a little game together.
Okay.
And since you've been here already, you already know the rules.
Yes, I do.
So we again have our blackboards next to us. And again, we're going to get 3 questions. We need to guess the answer. And whoever's closest gets a point. Okay, let's see. How many billionaires live in the US? How many billionaires are there in general?
Is it the American billion or the European billion that we call a milliarde? Nein, es ist das.
No, let's just guess something. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's close. So you guessed 200, I guessed 300.
Okay.
735.
Wow, that's like...
How many square meters of pizza do Americans collectively eat every day?
What? Every day? Square meters? Oh my god. 1, 2, 3. You guessed 5,000.
Yeah.
I guessed 470.
Very specific.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick really specific numbers because I have no clue.
404,686 square meters. That equals around 300 billion pizza a year.
That's a lot of pizza.
This is a lot of pizza. So you were closer there. So it's 1-1, yeah.
How many % of all jobs in Los Angeles County are in the creative industry, including media, architecture, fashion, entertainment, etc.?
Ready? 1, 2, 3. You said 40%, I said 67.
Around 16.3%.
16?
Yeah, LA County.
Whoa.
Yep.
Okay, I don't even know what really counts as LA County.
That is, okay, the LA County area. Let me see. You've got the city of Los Angeles, then you've got the LA County that is bordered by Orange County to the south, Riverside County to the east. However, when you're talking about the greater metropolitan area of Los Angeles, I think you still count those into it. But, don't put a bash on it. Riverside County, you haven't missed much. Sorry.
Okay, so since you won, you get a little present from us.
Yeah.
Yeah, some chocolates. Okay, then let's start into our second topic area, which is working in LA. And you worked in LA as a filmmaker in your studio. What are some of the videos you shot there and which ones were really memorable to you?
Okay, so let's start. Mostly I need to differentiate videos that I shot myself, and we started renting out the studio. So when we first got the studio, it was for ourselves, because one of the biggest differences filming in Graz and then filming in Los Angeles, nobody really cares in Graz. You don't really need a permit.
Yeah.
People are friendly. Where on the other side in LA, it's pretty immediately you need a permit. It makes sense. If you don't permit it out properly, the streets would be full with people filming stuff. So
that's true.
They're pretty strict about that. And after some time, we started renting out the space to other shoots. And that's when the location of the studio really came in handy. But mostly music videos and commercials. That was the daily bread and butter, so to speak. In terms of celebrities, yes, quite a few. I would call it the celebrity of the month. At least once a month I would have somebody well-known or famous there from all walks of life, so to speak, being it musicians. I had Toto from Africa, or Toto, if you remember the song Africa.
Yes.
I had Wes Craven, director of Nightmare on Elm Street. I had quite a few people from Star Trek, the different captains. So it was an interesting experience. Without going too much into it, have I heard the saying, never meet your heroes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Oh. It's kind of sad. So, and your studio was located near a lot of big-name studios like Universal or Warner Bros. So what possibilities did you gain through that? Or
quite a few. The location was key, to be honest. So in Los Angeles, or in the you have something called the 30-mile zone, or the production zone. There's a couple names of it, which is a 30-mile radius. 30 miles, that's 48 kilometers. As long as you shoot within that area, you have lower labor costs. You don't need to pay a driving fee to your people and so on. So essentially, pretty much everything that you see on television, everything that's not Game of Thrones or Star Wars, everything that's on a budget, will be shot in that area. And it's kind of funny because once you start living there, and pretty much all of LA is within that zone, once you start living there, you start to recognize so many locations. Especially you start to recognize all the cafes, you start to recognize all the wildlife locations, or that's Griffith Park, or that's Agua Caliente, and so on. And I was fortunate enough that the studio was located pretty much right in the middle of it. My next door neighbors were Universal, Warner Brothers, Disney. So we got a lot of what I called the overspill. The studio itself, it wasn't really big enough to build a set. Yes, quite a lot of student shoots would go there and build sets, but for the big studios, sort of the overspill material, when they needed interviews for Mad Men, when they needed new promotional pictures for Westworld and so on, stuff that the studios would contract out to a third party anyway. That is stuff that ended up at my studio. Because they would contract it out to some company, they would have access to the stars, to John Hamm and so on a certain date. They just needed to find a location in the 30-mile zone, And that was my studio. And it was quite fascinating because you got a lot of, for instance, Rufus Sewell, that you might know from The Man in the High Castle on Amazon. The promotional pictures of him they were taking at the studio and so on.
Oh, really? That sounds really nice. So you had a really good location then.
Absolutely. Location was key.
Would you like to return to LA at some point, to live there again, or just to visit?
Tough question. I'm not sure if I want to live there again. It's a ugly city with great weather and a great place to live when you're young. Visit anytime. Living there again, I don't think so.
Thank you for being here today again. It was really nice to talk to you about your working experience and also living experience in LA. Today we also have 2 stickers for you.
Oh,
that
great.
Kind of seem fitting to the nice weather theme.
Surfing and beach summertime.
Yeah.
Very LA.
So it's fitting, and you can also
absolutely
put them behind you on the suitcase.
So that's beach. It's travel time. It's funny, beaches. We all think of LA with that they're having such big beaches, but nobody's really thinking about the mountains. And I myself, I love hiking, and the St. Gabriel's right behind it. I mean, St. Gabriel is 3,800-ish, so they have all control.
Yeah, I think when you think of Los Angeles, you really just think about nice weather, like you said, and
not so much about
beaches.
Mountains and skiing.
Yeah, not really. Especially not coming from Austria.
Coming from Austria, it's not that interesting. But thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to being back here soon.
Yeah, hopefully we'll meet again here. So thank you, and also thank you to our listeners. If you liked the video, leave a like and leave a comment. And subscribe to our channel for more episodes like this. We'll see you in our next one.